Ciao, ciao 32 Beats, ciao hello, come vi chiamate? Non so pronunciarlo perché lo pronuncerei in inglese, lo pronuncerei hello. Ciao Alejo, ciao Rivera, ciao Johnin, ciao Giovanni, ciao Jack, ciao a tutti. Come andiamo? Grande sample pack oggi, grazie. Beh, grazie più che altro a Leonardo di Angilla, ma sapete che ha fatto tutto lui. Cioè io volevo fare un applauso a Leonardo, ciao Alex, ciao Vincenzo, perché si è organizzato tutto lui, ha fatto i construction kit, cioè ma senza neanche dirmelo. Tanto che io, vi ricordate, volevo fare delle interazioni, delle cose, ma gli ho scritto proprio, ma Leo, cioè l'hai fatto benissimo tu, cosa devo fare? L'ho semplicemente pubblicato e basta. Grazie ancora perciò a Leonardo Di Angilla. E... Come state ragazzi? Tutto bene? Ciao Leffre Music. Sì, sono belli, è vero. Applauso Leonardo. Oh ragazzi, ieri pomeriggio, insomma, ho perso il live, la registrazione del live con Luca perché Instagram nel momento in cui ho premuto save to IGTV è crashato. Una delle robe più brutte che mi sia mai successo. E perciò continuo a chiederlo a tutti. Anche Luca adesso sta provando a chiedere ai suoi fan se qualcuno per caso l'avesse registrata. Sarebbe bello che mi mandasse un link così la riposto perché a me è piaciuta proprio, mi sono gasato a sentire le cose che ci ha detto, ho scoperto anche delle cose che non sapevo. Bene, perciò oggi abbiamo il nostro appuntamento che abbiamo ogni 2 settimane con Tim Pierce. Tim sarà pronto fra una decina di minuti, un quarto d'ora, perciò abbiamo una decina di minuti per fare un po' di Q&A se vi va, che magari da un po' che non lo facciamo. Come vi dicevo, intanto vi do un po' di notizie. Sto ristrutturando i live e transizioneremo a 3 appuntamenti settimanali. Vi dico già dalla settimana dell'1 giugno, dall'inizio di giugno. Perciò del 1 giugno cercheremo di mantenere il nostro appuntamento di lunedì con Pinaxa, settimanale, in cui è praticamente una chiacchierata tra me e Pino di tutte le novità della settimana, delle cose che lui sta sperimentando in studio, delle cose che io sto sperimentando in studio. Il mercoledì cercheremo di tenerlo sempre per un mix di Q&A e di un appuntamento con Tim Pierce e Compensado. Compensado stiamo andando sempre di più a fondo ad analizzare i suoi tricks e i suoi segreti del mixing, a seconda della puntata ci concentreremo di più su aspetti tecniche o come Dave affronta certi strumenti, mentre con Tim da oggi cominceremo a parlare della registrazione in studio, perciò di fare il session man nelle varie ere musicali. Perciò cominceremo a parlare degli anni 80, quando lui ha iniziato, e delle procedure per registrare, del gear che loro utilizzavano, dell'attrezzatura che utilizzavano, dei tempi, di quanto lento era registrare in quel periodo, e delle figure delle persone che lui si ricorda qui a Los Angeles, storiche, che o competevano con lui o che semplicemente a livello di fonici, di produttori, lui frequentava spesso. Perciò sarà molto interessante anche quell'aspetto di vedere l'aspetto di un session man americano, come nei periodi diversi storici ha adattato la sua tecnologia, la sua pedaliera, e come i tempi da essere molto dilatati negli anni 80 sono diventati frenetici con l'avvento dei DAW e del digitale. Mentre il venerdì lo terremo sempre per un ospite speciale. In questa fase ci stiamo concentrando molto sui nuovi produttori italiani. Come vi ho detto, come avete già visto, abbiamo avuto Pietrino dei Second Roof, avete già visto dai miei piccoli videini che mi faccio da solo che lunedì prossimo ci sarà Zef. Li sto mettendo lì lunedì perché ne sto mettendo altri, ho ancora altri impegni di venerdì che avevo già preso, perciò vi do già un rundown veloce. Venerdì avremo Fidia, scultore italiano che risiede a Los Angeles, andatevi a vedere il suo profilo, Fidia, fantastico, non dico altro, andatevelo a vedere. Lunedì avremo Zef, martedì 26 avremo Marz. Sto già facendo un video anche per Marz, ma ve lo dico già in anticipo. Poi ovviamente il mercoledì avremo il nostro appuntamento compensato, e il venerdì 29 maggio avremo Davide Rossi, polistrumentista, violinista, arrangiatore, autore di canzoni, collaboratore storico dei Coldplay, collaboratore storico dei Goldfrapp, caro amico. Abbiamo collaborato da 5-6 anni e più a questa parte, che tra l'altro si divide tra Los Angeles, tra Long Beach e la Danimarca e Londra, e avremo perciò un'intervista con lui. Mentre il 1 giugno avremo Prod by 6 p.m., produttore italiano che risiede a New York, e avremo una bella chiacchierata con lui, farò anche un bel video anche per lui. Ritorneremo perciò al nostro appuntamento B con Tim il 3 giugno, mentre il 5 venerdì avremo un mio caro amico che adesso è diventato una figura importante all'interno di Microsoft a Redmond, e avremo la possibilità perciò di discutere dell'abbinamento di musica, di tecnologia, di Microsoft, e di come la tecnologia si può incrociare con la musica. Simone Leorin si chiama, frequentava con me una scuola di indirizzo musicale quando eravamo a Padova, e perciò abbiamo un percorso in qualche modo simile, anche se poi differente, nel senso che lui ha cominciato con la musica come me, insieme a me, facendo musica in maniera molto seria con professori del Conservatorio Musicale del Pollini di Padova, e poi invece ha preso una strada che presi anch'io all'inizio, in quanto programmavo in C++, in Fortran 77 quando ero giovane, e lui invece è più andato verso quella direzione e ne ha fatto la sua professione principale, e gli chiederemo un po' di musica e di tecnologia. E intanto mi fermo al 5, io ho già altri appuntamenti che sto prendendo. Ho sentito oggi di Rosario per intervistarlo, e anche lui sarà disponibile, probabilmente stiamo settando per il 12 giugno, e altre cose insomma che adesso non vi dico. Vediamo se avete già fatto delle domande. Sample Pack ho visto. Ciao Sante. Ottimo, sto leggendo. Va bene, stai provando a registrare. Grazie Vincenzo. Cosa ne pensi delle Adam A77X? Jack, non le conosco, cioè conosco bene le Adam come casse, le ho avute per tanti anni le S3A, ma da quando l'Adam fu in qualche modo rivoluzionata anche a livello di prodotti, di product range, non le ho più frequentate tante. Penso di aver presente quali sono. Immagino che se abbiano il Twitter a nastro, abbiano quel suono lì, perciò se ti piace avere delle alte che sono in qualche modo attutite, più piacevoli all'ascolto, ci vuole sicuramente, c'è un momento per abituarsi alle Adam. Non sono casse in cui, se transizioni da delle casse normali con il Twitter normale, ci vuole sempre un pochino di tempo per abituarsi a quel tipo di suono, però le Adam in generale mi sono sempre piaciute. Altre novità volevo dirvi, intanto se avete per caso delle domande, volevo dirvi che ci saranno presto delle novità per quanto riguarda anche Waves SoundGrid, nel senso che finalmente anche per gli utenti che utilizzano il sistema SoundGrid in studio ci saranno degli avanzamenti per quanto riguarda il software, stiamo appunto vedendo se anche aiutare poi Waves in qualche modo, visto che avevo già fatto un video promozionale per loro nel mio studio Fab Factory, e vi terremo aggiornati su questo. Vi terremo aggiornati anche, sto facendo un esperimento strano con Presonus. Avevo già acquistato Studio One 3, perché Luca Pretolesi mi parlava. Tra l'altro Luca è anche una persona che dovrei assolutamente intervistare, mi dimentico di tutti gli amici che ho che lavorano nella musica, adesso dopo gli scrivo. Pretolesi mi parlò di Studio One, della sua transizione a Studio One per masterizzare e mixare i brani a Las Vegas, e io lo acquistai e poi lo lasciai sempre lì senza mai approfondirlo tanto. Ultimamente Simone Privitera mi dice che lo usa, mi ha detto che lo usa, non vi ricordate nell'intervista, e ho detto fammi vedere un po' Studio One, e ho scaricato l'aggiornamento alla 4 e lo sto esplorando, e non è detto che magari nella follia tra un Twitch e una registrazione live non faccia un video in cui provo a esplorare Studio One per fare un beat, anche con tutti gli errori possibili, perché ovviamente me lo imparo in una settimana, perciò non conoscerò tutti i trucchi che conosco con Pro Tools, però mi divertirebbe quell'idea lì di provare a fare un beat È bello, è vero, sarebbe bella anche un'intervista a Pat, è vero, perché non penso mai che collaboro, cioè è vero, hai ragione, Vincenzo, me lo segno anche quello. Bello un Twitch Studio One, sì. Sto anche pensando di fare dei Twitch a due, di fare dei beatmaking a due. Sto cercando però, come sapete, di sistemare la situazione tecnica in modo che sia totalmente fluida, e penso che la soluzione sia quest'ultima scheda che ho acquistato di Capture, che è di Avermedia, che è appena uscita, si chiama Bolt, è della prima Thunderbolt 3, che in qualche modo può interfacciarsi con e catturare 4K a 60 frame, perciò il mio wide monitor è comunque a 3440 per qualcos'altro, per 1080, perciò va quasi nei 4K, e una scheda normale a 1080 non riusciva a catturarla. Perciò ho bisogno di quello, ho bisogno di una scheda che abbia zero lag, che abbia zero ritardo, e questa lo è, e una scheda che includa anche la capture audio, come questa, in modo che posso catturare anche l'audio e risolvere tutti i problemi che abbiamo attualmente con questa Motu, che sembra non sincronizzare bene. Vabbè, per i fedelissimi di Twitch sanno di cosa parlo. Perciò ecco, l'idea sarebbe che una volta risolta la parte tecnica sarebbe divertente provare a fare un live su Twitch. Con qualcun altro, e provare a vedere. Addirittura la mia idea è anche quella di fare, non so, un rapper che fa freestyle e io che faccio il beat insieme, anche cercando di risolvere tutti i problemi di lag e quanto altro. E basta. Vediamo se per caso Team è già pronto o no. Fammi vedere. Team Pierce, sì, c'è, e allora lo tiro dentro. Però aspettate un secondo che devo fare così. Bringing you in, Tim, if you're ready. If you're not, here you are.
Hello.
Good to see you.
Good to see you too.
I did a long introduction about a lot of things, and I explained that starting from today, we want to start exploring, guitar eras, and more than that, like studio recording eras, and we want to start with the 80s, which is probably the era where you joined the team of session musicians recording in LA in the crazy 80s, How are you, by the way?
I'm really good. I slept well, and it's nice. LA appears to be kind of doing pretty well. Mm-hmm. I think we'll be opening back up in a month or so, carefully, cautiously. And I really appreciate everybody being careful. Yeah, I moved here in 1980, mm-hmm. and I was looking at Steve Lukather's name on tons of records, Larry Carlton's name on tons of records. Back in Albuquerque, New Mexico, I was looking at all these amazing studio players. I was a fan of musicians reading credits on records. And when I got here, it was pretty quick. I started meeting people because LA was pretty open. It's funny about LA. When I look back at Los Angeles, it was actually a pretty easy place to come and be a musician. I mean, it sounds kind of impossible, but it was really, LA was actually a very nice, easy place for a long time. There was so much music going on and so many ways in. But I remember I met Steve Lukather very early through a mutual friend, and I got to play with Steve Lukather, and I was blown away by him. Oh my. And that was the beginning of it. It was just the 80s, I remember, I'm going to tell a story in a video soon about how I pulled up to a studio parked next to David Foster's Mercedes, mm-hmm. walked in, and I saw Steve Lukather and David Foster recording Talk to You Later by the Tubes, which was, probably their biggest hit in some ways. And it was a Foster Lukather invention, basically. Yeah. And it was the three of them tracking with no bass player. I mean, you saw stuff like that in LA. It was amazing.
Yeah. It's great. I mean, listen, still not, just to do a parallel with today, I still think it's a pretty open city right now for musicians and for producers, in the sense that it's so easy to meet people and to set up, meetings and appointments and everything. It's actually harder right now to place your song, to be an active musician, to be a part of something. That's harder because
Right.
there's so many people trying to do the same thing. But to access, the different areas, it's not that hard. You can easily have a meeting with a top executive or meet like a production company very easily. It's still open in that sense.
One thing about LA is that you don't have to fit in any mold.
Mm-hmm.
I think in Nashville, you have to be a certain kind of person to be accepted. Yeah. Here, you can be a total outsider. You can weigh 300 pounds. You can be 8 feet tall. you can have 3 arms. Here, you can be a total oddball.
And you can barely speak English, by the way. Because I was accepted at the very beginning. I was barely speaking English. I mean, I was trying to make myself, and, it's hard, but this city is, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, also, the thing about Hollywood is the guy that parks your car at the restaurant, which will hopefully happen again soon, the valet, could easily be the next Brad Pitt.
Totally.
And that's in this culture, and it's the truth, and it happens all the time.
So many jokes about servers,
Yeah.
So many jokes about servers that are serving you, but on the side they're giving you or handing you a script or just a book, a photo book, a picture book. Yeah. So going back to the 80s, what's your first remembering or recalling about being in a studio and recording? And what was it? Do you remember it?
Yeah, this is going to be a little different than you might expect. But while the 80s was the era of big racks, and that all started, it started a little after I got here. When I got here, there were 2 things that were pretty huge in LA. One was the Van Halen phenomenon. And there were a lot of imitators coming along and a lot of heavy bands copying Van Halen. A lot of guitar players aspiring to be that. But the other thing was new wave music. And at its best, that was represented by the Knack and My Sharona. If you go back and listen to the Knack, musically, it's pretty great.
Yeah.
There were tons of new wave bands. The first thing that happened when I got here is I got the recommendation to get a Stratocaster with a wang bar, right? And we put graphite in the nut to keep it in tune, pencil shavings. But the big thing that happened when I got here was the Boss CE1 chorus. So for the first time, you would plug in this Boss CE1 chorus, take 2 outputs to 2 amps.
Two separate amps.
2 amps.
Johnny Marr.
Yeah.
In Europe was Johnny Marr doing that, yeah.
Okay, so all of a sudden, you would have 2 amps sitting there, and one of them on one side would be going, and then the other side would be dry, and the 2 together would make this orgasmic, amazing sound. And it was the rage. I couldn't wait. So you try and get 2 matching amps, so that it looked cool, and you had, the 2 whatever, 2 Fenders or the 2 Mesa Boogies or whatever. The Mesa Boogies were the holy grail back then. But your Boss chorus would be creating this stereo thing, and that was the rage.
Was the Mesa Boogie store already there on Sunset in the 80s, or?
Their original store was deep in the valley, Michele. Oh, wow. It was deep. It's Sherman Way.
Wow. Where my studio is, basically.
Exactly. The original store, but that didn't start till later. That back then, you would buy your Mesa Boogie at the #1 guitar store in LA, which was Valley Arts Guitar. Valley Arts Guitar was the top of the pyramid. It was the place where Larry Carlton, Lee Rittenauer, Jay Graydon, all these people went to get their guitars worked on, and they bought their gear. I bought my first Mesa Boogie at Valley Arts Guitar, and I think I had been here about a year, and I think it was about $1,700. It was this little small thing. Mm-hmm. I got the wood finish with the cane grill cloth. But my friend had a pair of black Mesa Boogies with the head separate from the speakers, and that was I wish I could have afforded that, because that was the badass rig. Mm-hmm. But the only thing you could get sustain out of, Mesa Boogie was really the only company that had a high sustain channel. Mm-hmm. Now, you had to mod amps to get there. So anyway, it's a little different. The early 80s were a little different than the mid 80s and the late 80s.
So the first record, you were saying, so it's gonna be, say, it's a little bit different because what's remembering your first recording?
I was lucky. I met a musician who was leaving a new wave band that got a deal with Mike Chapman. Mike Chapman was the biggest producer in Hollywood at that time. Okay. Him and Nicky Chin, they had all these. They were having #1 hits one after the other, and I did a record with Mike Chapman at United Western, which then became Cello, which then became East West. So it was this great, iconic studio, and I got to go in and track with a band and work with a major producer who kind of really knew what he was doing. I mean, Mike Chapman was, you'd have to look him up, but he was just huge. And I would walk out of the alley, and across the alley at SIR Studios, literally across the alley, Van Halen was rehearsing for a tour. And I would listen to Eddie Van Halen going crazy on guitar. The other thing that was notable back then is that Christopher Cross had the biggest record in the world. And so you would hear Sailing and Ride Like the Wind constantly on the radio. Michael Omartian produced that. So these producers, the thing about the 80s for me, it wasn't necessarily the famous artists that I was attracted to. I was attracted to the famous studio musicians.
Oh, wow.
When I actually met Steve Lukather, or when I read about Michael Omartian, or I read about these, to me, the guys that made me kind of just get really nervous and excited were producers and musicians, the first time I met Nathan East, it was amazing. The first time I met Lukather, it was amazing. All these people, it was just that's what really, really got me excited, was the musician.
So if you remember, I mean, what's your first recalling of actually the process of recording? Was it obviously analog tape or the first digital tape? And
dude, you're it was 100% analog.
Yeah.
And people had to work hard. Here's a dose of reality for you. It was hard to get sounds. I mean, the reason Hugh Padgham became a superstar, producing Sting and Peter Gabriel and all these people, Genesis, all these people, is because he could actually get sounds in the studio. Engineers really had to work hard to get good sounds. These days, we know how to do it. We get it instantly no matter what. But literally, you would go to a studio, they'd work hard on the sound. Sometimes they would work a whole day on the snare sound.
So remember that.
You would sit there and wait and get paid while they just hit the snare drum all day. And then maybe at the end of the day, you would start the first song, maybe. But here's the problem. Because it was hard to get sounds, you would show up next week at another studio that was a pretty great studio, and nothing would sound good. And the engineer couldn't make it sound good. It would sound really dry and lifeless. You would have days where things actually never sounded good. And you would hope
still paying the studio.
Well, you were making the record. You were not only paying the studio, you were making the record going, this doesn't sound good. So it was hard. It was really hard to get good sounds. Analog tape machines, the effects, the consoles, miking, the rooms were actually pretty dry. I mean, they tried to make studios really, really dead for a while. And that made it even harder.
Listen, one other thing is there were so many more people interacting in the studio at that time.
Yeah.
Obviously, people knows that, we're talking about tape operators, recording engineers, assistants, musicians, and then interns or people just bringing you food or whatever, and then a producer and then an assistant producer. So do you think that in some way the session musician at that time didn't have to learn a lot of other correlated and related stuff around the main, job? Instead, if we want to go back, go in the future right now, think about right now, you need to know how to properly record. I mean, at least, how to operate your DAW. And that was a good thing, a bad thing. What do you think? I don't know. I remember even my first session, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but my first session in a proper studio in Milan, we were probably 8 people, 9 people, you know, or like everyone was doing one thing, you know.
It was good and bad. I mean, for a player who just likes to play, it was the best case scenario. I mean, for someone like Leland Sklar, who's absolutely super famous, he loves to play. So for him to show up with his bass and work with his favorite friends and, you know, great musicians and have conversations and talk about cars and gardening and just have a great time with his buddies, it was best case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
For me, doing overdubs as a guitar player and trying to deliver great sounds, I actually prefer the modern era because I can actually do more now than I could back then.
Mm-hmm.
I never really liked sitting out on the floor with headphones I couldn't hear, I didn't know what I was hearing. And frankly, very few studios have good headphone mixes. I mean, Sunset Sound, where we've worked a lot and where you had a studio for a while, they have a phenomenal headphone mix. But most studios, you would hear like a horrible click track, a little bit of drums and a bass or whatever, and then you'd ask for something and they couldn't get it to you, you know, everybody, you know. So headphones were always a frustration to me. For me, I like the modern era better, but there are lots of guys who just played and they like the old era, and you can hear it in their playing. I mean, a lot of these guys, I mean, Leon Russell is an amazing piano player.
Yeah.
That's, you know, he was actually more active in the 70s, but a guy like that sitting down just playing performances into an analog tape machine, you know, that's just amazing.
Yeah.
And a lot of the great studio players would just throw down performances, and then they would go to Martoni's restaurant and get drunk.
Uh-huh. Wait. So if we want to focus more on the early 80s, apart from the CE1, you know, the Boss pedal you were talking about, what would you say are the 3-4 highlights gear-wise of the early 80s that you, and the Mesa Boogie, and the Mesa Boogie you said, there were like specific pedals or specific combination in the chain that everyone was using?
Well, right after New Wave, the rack gear started to appear, but it was super expensive, and you had to be pretty successful to go out and afford it. So let's just talk about Lukather, because he was already in Toto and had enough money to do whatever he wanted to. So Lukather would show up with a pair of blackface Fender Deluxes that were modded by Paul Rivera, and he would also show up with a pair of 100-watt Marshalls. So all the clean stuff, Larry Carlton, you know, Ray Parker Jr., all the R&B stuff that Steve can do while he's sleeping, amazingly, would come out of the Deluxes. And then the really heavy stuff, like solos on a Don Henley record, would come out of the pair of 100-watt Marshalls. And then with regards to rack gear, Steve would just buy whatever he heard about. You know, if he heard about a new delay, he'd buy 2 of them, because he had no, you know, the money was just flowing in from being a rock star. So he had a huge rig and he would take it around anywhere. But here's the thing, the rack gear was being used in front of the amps. So not in the way it's supposed to be used. Frustrating, you know, if you're using a delay in front of an amp, you're going to get distortion that you don't want. It's not how it's designed to be used. But they were using it anyway. And he would use pedals too. But
why? Because there was no actually, you know, effect loop inside the amp. That's for the simple reason, or
No, I mean, there were a few, but it was very early days for that. Now, in my world, it was different because I wasn't a studio musician at that point. I started with Rick Springfield and Bon Jovi in about 1983. And the way we did those records, you would have Marshalls, and you would bring as many Marshall amps to the studio as you could possibly find, because some sounded better than others. So you borrow your friend's Marshalls, you bring your Marshalls, the producer might bring Marshalls. You would try a few of them out, and the one that sounded best for the clean tone, you would just turn down your guitar to get a clean tone, and then you'd turn it up, and then certain Marshalls would sound good for certain sounds. I never really used Fenders that much in the studio, although that was the alternative for clean. But for rock records, which I jumped into immediately, like Rick Springfield and Bon Jovi, the sound was all Marshalls, and you would get clean and dirty sounds out of your Marshalls, and you would have a ton of them there because you didn't know which one would sound the best.
So approaching the mid 80s to the late part of the 80s, what changed in the studio? Like more rec gear, or what, new kind of amps, and how the sound was actually evolving?
Okay, so what happened is Mike Landau, being Steve Lukather's best friend, and then, you know, growing up together, he developed a slaving system. So he would take his Mesa Boogie head, run a direct out from it through rack gear. So finally he had the right formula in a way. And then he would use two other Mesa Boogie heads, just the power sections. So creating an effects loop basically through the rack. So he would take a direct out of one Mesa Boogie head, put it through the rack gear, and then bust it out through power sections only of two more Mesa Boogie heads. And because of his fingers and his ears, he was able to get an amazing sound out of that rig. I tried to copy it. I failed. It took me like 10 years later to finally get a sound that was as good as his. I kept buying stuff and trying stuff. But partly that served me because in 1990, I joined a band called Toy Matinee with Pat Leonard, and he was actually sick of all that stuff. I actually got to be known as the guy who would play through a Vox head when everybody else was playing through racks. So just my failure of being able to achieve a beautiful rack tone actually made me a better choice for those people who are actually getting a little tired of it. The problem with these slaving rigs is that generally you would have ultra distortion or ultra clean. There was nothing in between. So if you hear Landau's work during that period, you hear a really pretty juicy distorted sound, which I tried so hard to get I could never get. That was his slave to Mesa Boogie. They called it slaving. And then you would hear totally clean. You wouldn't hear anything between. Like if you hear him playing on a Richard Marx song, or one of the ones I love is Steve Lukather playing on Michael McDonald's song like Keep Forgetting, or Steve Lukather playing on Human Nature by Michael Jackson, totally clean through a rack. That was the sound. So you either did clean or saturated. Those two things. That was it.
And if you think about it, you know, and then we can talk about this in the next, you know, IG Live in the 90s, you know, instead a new kind of middle ground started to become even more popular. So I don't want to ask you about that, but you know, that's interesting because if I think about it, yeah, it's true. There's a lot of great clean sounds coming from that era, or a lot of great hyper distortion sound, but in between. And also, you know, knowing very well Michael and his amazing, you know, technique and work, body of work, it's how important is the volume on the guitar. How many times, I mean, it's important for you too, but I still remember how dynamically he changes that 5 times in a song, like constantly. It's almost like if it's part of the playing, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, for a novice or someone that doesn't play guitar, I mean, I just play basic 4 chords, you know, that opened my mind, you know. Wow. I mean, the first ally for a guitar player or for someone who want to do something on a guitar is the volume on the guitar, volume knob.
Yeah, and for him, he was just an expert at the volume pedal.
Also, too.
But what you're talking about, if you roll this guitar down to 7, you can make it sound a little more like a Vox. So if somebody wants the Beatley part, which weren't that popular back then, but what you're saying is if it was too distorted and you wanted to have it, you know, kind of half distorted, which is where I lived my whole life, the half distorted thing, you know, Vox AC30, boom.
Yeah.
If you wanted that, the way to do it is to go down to 7. When Neil Giraldo kind of taught me about sounds early on, that was the key. We would just, if we wanted a clean part, we would just turn it down from 10 to 6 or 7.
But it's so easy. But I mean, when you start approaching there's also one thing to say: cheap guitars, the volume knob, it's not very well, you know,
right.
How technically it's made. But I'm pretty sure that if you buy a $200 guitar, the volume knob, it's shit. You know, it doesn't keep the sound the same, you know, in the same way, you know.
But back then there weren't a lot of options, and you could actually buy a good guitar for not a lot of money. I mean, the vintage guitar thing went, you know, that went crazy later, but you could actually buy good guitars, you know, pretty reasonably back then. So we, you know, once you were a working musician, but the other thing back then is that there was not this obsession with having a ton of guitars. Like if you were a working musician in the 80s, you basically had your guitar that you used, and it was just one guitar. And maybe you hot rodded it and you changed the frets. I remember the first time I saw Michael Landau, he was playing rhythm guitar for Robin Ford at an outdoor theater, actually at the Ford Theater, you know, in the Cahuenga Pass.
Yeah.
And I stared at his guitar. He had put, you know, Van Halen had done the humbucker near the bridge, but Michael had taken his Strat and he had put a humbucker by the bridge, and he still had the 2 single coils. And I thought, wow, that's so radical, but that means he can get lead sounds out of his Strat and then immediately switch to the you know, the classic lead tones. So but that was his guitar. If you had a guitar, you didn't have 30 guitars sitting there and you just pick them up. You know, you actually just kind of used your one guitar for everything. So it was kind of cool.
That's just like so different from now. When you come to my studio and you bring your 38 newest guitars, you know, just and then, but then should we just say what happens every time? Just we use 2, maybe, or 1.
Well, and that's because momentum is everything. And the minute you sense a drop in momentum, we get it back. Momentum is everything. And if you're switching guitars, oh, I don't know if this is the right guitar, let me try that one. It's like, you'll kill the session.
You feel the energy going down in the room.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, so before leaving you and thanking you obviously for your time, I see like a few questions or someone just asking about. So Harry Not Young saying Jeff Beck also is a master of volume control. Yeah, we all know that.
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know. Sir James of the Bronx is saying unless you were Steve Howe, but I don't know what he was talking about. Maybe he was talking. Who's Steve Howe? I don't know who's.
He was a guitar player in Yes, and an amazing player, but definitely a very individual style.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of.
Guitar Progress saying team has probably influenced players more than the top 200 guitar players of all time. LOL. Yeah, they didn't even know his name. Wow. I mean, a lot of people know Tim's name now, but I mean, I am from Tim's era, 80s, and I would have been contemplating studio guitarist career, but my teachers at Trebas Institute made it sound like we'd only be paid in pizza. Oh, okay. Paul Jackson Jr. clean tones are great. Yeah.
They are. Yeah.
They are. Yeah. And then I grew up loving so many guitar players, and ironically, I was loving Tim's playing without knowing what. Team. Okay, Team playing without knowing what I was hearing. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's the job is you're in the background. So, and it's harder than ever because there are no more credits. So, but I spent my entire youth looking at every name on the back of every record, every single name.
I think they're trying now to come back with credits, you know, and Spotify and Tidal. Tidal is really great at credits. I don't know if you saw that, but they have an extended, you know, really like very huge area for credits where you can basically put all music level credits, you know. Great. Tim,
I hope it comes back. I really do.
Do you want to play just something for us before leaving? Because we talked about Thank you so much. Thank you, Tim. It was so great seeing you. And we're gonna continue this talk like in 15 days about the 90s, because I'm pretty curious about what's changing in the 90s and the techniques and then gear and then maybe you in the 90s were almost, you know, basically stable in LA but working more and more on sessions every day. So you were maybe, you know, like exploring more like different sounds and everything.
Absolutely. Yeah, it'll be fun. All right, man.
Thank you, Tim.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.
Ringraziamo ancora Tim, è sempre carino e gentile e questa volta è stata un'esplorazione degli anni '80. Ci ha detto un sacco di cose. Speriamo che salvi il live, perché alcune cose le voglio anch'io riascoltare come si posso dire, di quello che succedeva negli anni '80. La prossima volta, fra 15 giorni, ci focalizzeremo totalmente sugli anni '90, perciò attrezzatura e tutto quanto, e poi andremo nel 2000, andremo avanti, insomma abbiamo un sacco di idee. Ragazzi, io vi lascio un pochino prima del solito oggi, perché ho un pochino di cose da fare, da finire, e basta. Ci aggiorniamo direttamente a venerdì con Fidia. e magari se la situazione tecnica funziona meglio, una di queste sere, magari probabilmente più domani sera che stasera, faccio un live su Twitch. Bene, un saluto a tutti e a presto. Ciao ragazzi.